This is the second video in a series of 2 that addresses reasoning with percents. This video addresses North Carolina Math Standard 6 RP4, use ratio reasoning to solve real-world and mathematical problems with percents by finding the whole given a part and the percent. In this video, we will be exploring how to find the whole when given a part and the percent. When working with percents, students should apply skills learned in the other ratio standards to percents. It is for this reason rules and formulaic approaches should be avoided. One of the strategies suggested for the ratio standards is a double number line, which can also be used to solve percent problems. In the previous video, we used a double number line to determine the relationship with percents when given the whole amount. Part 2 moves students to reason about percents when given the part and percent. The focus of this video is on teaching students how to use benchmark percents to calculate the whole amount when given the part and percent. Let's begin with the problem. There are 16 girls in the class. 50% of the class is girls. How many students are in the class? We can begin to solve this problem by drawing a double number line. Label one number line percent and the other number line students. We can then place 0% and 100% on the percent number line. Since 50% of the class is girls, we need to place 50% on the percent number line. 50 is halfway between 0 and 100, so we will place 50% halfway between 0% and 100%. The problem also tells us that there are 16 girls in the class, which is 50%. I can place 16 on the student number line directly under the 50%. 50% of the class is 16. If I now look for a multiplication pattern, I see that I can multiply 50% by 2 to get to 100%. So to find 100% of the class, or how many students make up the whole class, I multiply 16 by 2. The class has a total of 32 students. Let's look at another problem. Jamari knows that he can use his phone for 120 minutes once the battery is on 25%. How long will the battery last when Jamari charges it completely? Once our number lines are labeled percent and minutes, we can place 0%, 100%, and the information from the problem on our number line. Since the problem tells us that 120 minutes is 25% of the whole battery life, I can place 120 minutes directly under 25% on the number line. If I now look for a pattern on how to get to 100%, I see that I can multiply 25% by 4 to get to 100%, so I can multiply 120 minutes by 4 to find out how many minutes the phone will last once it is at 100%. The phone will last 480 minutes once it is fully charged. You can now ask students if they see another way to get to 100%. Some students may say you can find 50% by multiplying the 25% times 2 to get to 240 minutes, and then find 100% by multiplying the 50% by 2 to get to 480 minutes. While this method requires more steps, it is useful for students to see the relationship to help build a full understanding of the multiplicative relationships involved when using percents. Let's take a look at one more problem. Of the students in a school, 300 play either on a school or recreational sports team. If 40% of all students play on a team, how many students are there in the school? Once our number lines are labeled with percent and students, we can place 0%, 100%, and the information from the problem on our number lines. Since the problem tells us that 300 students is 40% of the students in the school, I can place 300 directly under 40% on the number lines. If I now look for a multiplication pattern, I see that there isn't a whole number I can multiply 40% by to get to 100%. I need to look for a factor of both 100 and 40. Since 20 is a factor of both 100 and 40, I can use 20% to help me find 100%. To find 20% when 40% is 300, I divide 40% by 2 and 300 by 2, which gives us 150 students. Now that I know 20% of the students is 150 students, I can find out how many students are in the school. I now need to multiply 20% by 5 to get to 100%, and then multiply 150 students by 5 to get to 750 students. You can also ask students if there is another factor of 40 and 100 that they could use instead of 20. Some students may suggest that you could use 10%. Another way you could extend students' understanding is to ask if there is another way to get to 100% once they know 20% and 40%. Students may offer a variety of ways to get to 100%. One of those may be to find 80% by doubling 40%. Once you know 80% is 600 students, you can add 20% and 80% together to get to 100% or 750 students. By having students look for multiple ways to get to 100%, you are helping them build a full conceptual understanding of benchmark percents. As illustrated in this video, 6 RP4 calls for students to use benchmark percents to determine the whole amount when given the part and percent. By using a double number line, students connect ratio reasoning to the percent unit. In 6th grade, students began exploring percents using ratio knowledge that has been building since elementary grades. Students will use their knowledge of percents, including benchmark percents, in 7th grade when they apply the part to whole percent relationship to explore more complex percent problems in the context of tip, tax, and discount.